I'm Janis Norton. I'm with the Urban Farm and Grow PHX Collaborative, and my presentation is on building a food resilience education connection. Oops. The problems that we're addressing here is that many individuals and families are interested in growing their own food to take control of and increase their fresh food intake, yet they lack the knowledge and experience to do so. Meanwhile, local individuals and small businesses possess this knowledge and experience, yet they lack the infrastructure to deliver and benefit themselves in a sustainable and cost-effective manner. This is basically two parts of our community facing a similar problem from opposite sides. One part saying, I need to grow healthy food and save money, and the other part saying, I need to make money with my knowledge and skills. And this is really important because if we look at Maslow's basic needs, specifically focusing on the physiological needs, this is addressing food, a key element to having all of us feel safe. But this is also important, especially in these times, is if your food needs are not met, that's going to leave you at risk with your safety security needs. And as people who are feeling challenged in that area, they're not going to be able to make wise decisions for the community as a whole. And that's going to affect the community as people are driven to make decisions that may not be better for everyone around them. So the question is, how can we use the resources of both groups to support each other and build the food resilience of the community as a whole? And when we're talking about food resilience areas, some basic examples might be, planting fruit trees, building a garden bed, planting and growing vegetables. This is just the starting points that are going to help food resilience individually and as a community. Now, the research that I was going to be working on this is going to be based on questionnaires and connecting with people. And we're going to map out local gardening and food growing experts who are willing to share their knowledge, skills, and experience with residents in the Maricopa County. And with that, we'll identify potential community accessible classes on urban farming, gardening, and homesteading skills. This is going to be done by reaching out, asking people that we know to connect with others, and filling out surveys, and helping them reach into their resources of knowledge and experience to find out what they know, what kind of experience they have, and helping them put that into a coalesced resource that they can build on and put into the community. So what does this do? By creating a community makerspace connecting the knowledge and resources of the grower community with the needs and interests of the beginning and future gardeners and urban farmers in the community, what happens is we can provide an income source for small businesses and self-employed individuals, and an information source for the community households that are ready to start growing food. And this is done with classes. And as an example of different classes can be happening inside, outside, we're going to be creating this element that can happen in a variety of spaces, and we'll be collecting the spaces. But there's so many individuals and businesses out there that have the different elements of expertise that the community is hungry for. The deliverables on this project is going to be a community accessible online catalog of knowledgeable local experts and their topics around growing food, homesteading, and other food resiliency related skills. And for the small business accessible, for the small businesses, there'll be an accessible class building infrastructure to assist them and individuals in developing and delivering food resilience content. And the last deliverable will be a business plan to help create this project and make it a reality. And basically what I see here is the solution for one person's challenge is another person's opportunity. And by working together and communicating, we can help each other. And my acknowledgements and thank yous go out to ASU and the Knowledge Exchange for Resilience for providing this platform and the resources to build out this project, and all the individual members within the cohort that are contributing with their guidance and their suggestions and their inspiration. And of course, Greg Peterson of the Urban Farm for his belief in the possibility that he has of truly making a difference in our community, and his faith in me to make this happen. And also a big, big thank you to the Grow PHX Collaborative Business Network, who is a group of members that are out there right now for their encouragement, their participation, and their willingness to be our cadre of educators. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Janice. You're very efficient. We have lots of time for questions and discussion.
Hi. And now is a word I had too much.
No, you're very efficient with it. I am actually really interested in the approach you're taking as like a knowledge exchange. I think that, of course, obviously, you know, being the knowledge exchange for resilience, I'm just gravitating towards that sort of feature. Could you maybe talk a little bit about, just a little bit more detail about that exchange, like element?
Well, that's one of the reasons that gravitated us to the knowledge exchange for resilience was that we were trying to create a space where people could come together and give classes. And it built from that into the possibility of finding multiple places that could have different types of classes. And with the connections that we've had and the communication and the feedback, we've recognized that there are a lot of people in the community that already have this knowledge, this experience, and they're willing to share that in one way or another. So by giving a space, whether that be virtually or physically, to help them create their resource, their collective of classes and how they're going to be able to present them, because a lot of them have this knowledge and they're just not sure how to share it. We were hoping to be able to give that resource, and that will help their resilience so that the businesses can have another element of income. And also the community, they've been hungry for everything that we put out there. Now we recognize that there are already some really great, amazing people out there, like the Master Gardeners and such, that are giving education. But those are people who tend to be retired, who've already got their income set up, and they are at a place of stable place in their lives, mostly, that they don't actually need an income. So their resilience is not in question here. But there are people who do need an extra form of income, but don't have the financial resources or the infrastructure to create the process of being able to do this, whereas that is something that we do.
Right. So we have some of our other fellows that are piping up and saying, I want to take some of these classes. I want to learn from this sort of thing. So could we have some of you who are thinking about that just chime in and give a little bit more specifics about what's motivating you in line with, you know, what Tara was looking at, and then also just maybe what specific things would you, maybe the some that I've mentioned or others that, you know, weren't really articulated, that you are particularly motivated. Julia, Katie?
I'll talk from my experience a little bit. Every time I see one of these presentations from Janis or Tara or anybody looking at the food systems, I just think, oh man, I could be one of their subjects, because I'm one of those people who, I listen to gardening podcasts. I really want to garden. And there's like, I never make that step beyond like fruit trees to have an actual working garden. I compost, but I don't garden. So it's just really interesting to me. And I would love to get to that point where I actually was creating my own food. I'm, you know, big homesteader wannabe, but there is this motivation factor and this, you know, these different barriers kind of keeping it from that next step. So I'm just really interested in this, and I love the idea of increasing our community resilience through using nature and using gardening. And I think it's just really important for our earth and our community and our mental health. And so anyway, I'm a big fan, and I'm really interested in what comes out of all of these. But I have like zero experience.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that is an example of the type of people that we want to reach, because some of our food resilience we may be considering is, we might jump to the conclusion that it's just a socioeconomic area that doesn't have their, the resources. But in reality, food resilience is an important element for all people in the community. And there are many highly educated members of our community that, there might be weak in their own food resilience, and just even a little bit of education can give them an area of security as well. One place that you can start is by going to iwanttogarden.com, and there's some free classes that we offer through that.
One of the this I agree. I'm also one of these people that's just like, I'm super fascinated. I think this is so important, and I'm also kind of a wannabe. So I've been, in a way, the COVID-19 has been kind of cool because it's pushed me to really explore my, like, I'm one of those, I think Greg said earlier, that was like not in the willing to take action thing until I was like, oh, maybe I need to grow some food. I don't know what's gonna happen with this. So I have set up like a container garden now, and I'm like learning by trial and error and text to my mom and things like that. But one of the things that is really interesting, I think, about this is not just like in people's own gardening, but also like developing an understanding of like what food resources there are in your neighborhood. And so like I started to walk around my neighborhood and see like food, and go like, oh, like there's a lemon tree that I don't think that belongs to anybody, or like just noticing things like that. And also now I am much more connected with like what friends are growing food. And I have one friend that's like a master gardener certified person in permaculture. And she's like turned her backyard into like a small farm, literally right now. And she's normally a realtor, but just things have been very slow. And it's been amazing, like how much food she's given out, if you kind of pull up and so I think that is an interesting element too. And I wish that there was a way that she could turn that into like some kind of business that could help sustain her during this time of less work.
Exactly. I think you bring up a couple of points there that are really appropriate. One, you yourself are motivated now that there's a crisis or a danger point here, that you want to make sure that your own resilience is addressed by learning a little bit more. And you've started, so I kudos for starting your own garden. And you can grow, literally expand on what you're doing there with a little bit of knowledge and confidence. And your friend would be the ideal person on the opposite end of the group there, who has some experience and now has a potential stream of income if we can connect them to a way of giving classes.
Great. Michelle has a comment here on the framing. Would you like to share, Michelle? Or do you want me to read it?
Trying to unmute.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, Janis, as you know, because I've already talked to you about this before, I'm also really resonating with this work. I'm helping in some small ways with some teachers who are working on school gardens and integrating agrivoltaics, and wondering how your project might create some opportunities for them and their students. Which is making me think about, and in particular, our project is really focused on creating and making visible opportunities for youth, of course, to lead in community work that they find valuable. So we've got some students who are doing gardening with and for their community, and part of what we're interested in is student is both collective and individual agency. So that just might be something to look at in addition to Maslow. And along with that, I wonder about looking at the network that you're creating, how you might, I wonder how people might support each other across time, both as contributors in the ways that they contribute as learners to this system that you're creating, and the ways that they contribute as people with expertise to offer. Because I'd be interested in whether this kind of effort can grows a network that sustains and expands itself as a result of the things that it offers, this reciprocity, this mutuality that it offers, potentially offers to people.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I would like to connect with you a little bit more about the agency question there. As far as what we've been experiencing so far is the collaborative group of the educators and the businesses that are working together has been a natural progression that is very, it's basically been a very natural process for the groups to expand and connect and grow, because as a growing community, there is a natural inclination for many to share and support. And as far as the across time question, oh, definitely, absolutely can see how members who are learning in their areas can grow into becoming somebody who's going to share in either that area or another area. I myself am somebody who just a few years ago hadn't grown a single thing edible, let alone anything with a leaf successfully. And now I'm an educator. So yeah, that's a definite thing. As far as addressing the area for the children, for the students that are wanting to be empowered and can become active in their community. Big, huge, yes, yes, yes. The students, I mean, there is no age limit to anybody participating in this program, in this concept that we're coming up with. Education is the core of this whole project, and sharing that education. And I think that student participation in the classes, you know, whatever they're comfortable in, they can take a part in. And if they want, now there is a school that we know of in Tucson, Monzo Elementary, that we went to, and they had a permaculture-based education. And there was a 9-year-old young lady who participated as our tour guide of the school. And she blew my mind. She knew more about permaculture than I even had a concept of. And I can see that young girl becoming an educator for more. And I think that the kid-to-kid, peer-to-peer relationship there in education is definitely an aspect that this program could expand to.